Yogakere Ateker, Ekakiror Olepus, Lynn Ednance. Hello everyone, I am Lynn Ednance Olepus, a contestant for Miss Tourism Teso 2023 to 2024. One very vital aspect about every culture is food, and I'll be sharing with you today a lot more about the Iteso food culture. So back then in Teso, the primary place of a woman was in the kitchen. But this obviously started in the garden with things such as the planting, harvesting, and the process that went through before any food item was prepared. Traditionally, the main food crops grown in Teso were millet and sorghum, and that is why the staple food of the Itesos is atap. Atap is known in English as millet bread. The people from Western Uganda have a similar food that they call akaro, and then the other people from Northern Uganda call it kalo. So atap is ideally, or back then was ideally made out of millet. Though of late, the Itesot mix other things such as sorghum. So some people make their atap out of millet and sorghum, whereas others do millet, sorghum, and cassava, and others just do millet and cassava. So other than atap, the other staple foods that the Itesots had were mainly greens, and the commonest is ebo. And then we have something that we call akobokobo. This is a different or unique species of cucumber that is usually dried and prepared using granite sauce. So given that the primary place of every Itesot lady was in the kitchen, it was very ideal for every woman to know how to cook, and even the process that goes before the cooking, such as the harvesting or what happens after you have harvested food. So one very, very vital food item that every Itesot lady ought to know how to prepare is atap. And other than that, I believe the second thing would be ginat, because most of the foods of the Itesot are made with ginat or ginat sauce included, regardless of whether it's greens, whether it is meat, or even fish. All these are often pested. That is why it's very vital for every Itesot woman to know how to make ginat or how to make ginat sauce. When you talk about food, there are two very vital things that come to your mind: the preparation and preservation of different foodstuffs. So traditionally in Teso back then, when food was harvested, in order for it to be stored to last for a longer period, since it was usually harvested in bulk or huge quantities, it had to be preserved. So the commonest method of preservation then was sun drying, where you'd have items such as potatoes, millet, sorghum, cassava, or even greens sometimes sun dried. So this was to take out the liquid in them, to leave them a bit dry such that they do not get spoiled easily. And after the sun drying, most of these food items were stored in a granary, which was safer since a granary is usually a bit raised from the ground. So once you have these things stored in the granary, they're able to last a bit longer, unlike today where you just have a fridge. So today I'm going to take you through the process of preservation of potatoes. In Teso, we have a common meal that is called amukeke. So amukeke is made from dried potatoes. So I'm going to show you how we harvest our potatoes, and then we get to peel them, cut them, and sun dry them as a means of preservation.
Shout out to all the tracks. Straight to the origins. What up, now pre-saved, I was still raised right, so we were always culture boys, but boys would be boys, so sometimes we'd be them and soldier boys. Had quite a few friends with army dads, real soldier boys, red top status. They walk in and you better hold your voice and tongue and watch your mouth, cause they could be drunk or packing. No time to stomp you out, just throw you in the back of the pickup because your whereabouts. UG, KLA, home of the Impala. We're all different tribes, but everyone's bound to speak some Luganda like Mugamba G. That's from my old schoolers to Sidore G. That's from the new students with that slang edition. From urban preserving the local tradition while handing down that history through those oral renditions, like the story of Kintu. Musajja Nenteye, Kintu Yawasanambi, Mwanyina Wawarumbe is only one of the stories that explain things like our origins to death and everything in between. Oral historians before us young MCs at the scene. Mental recordings, those been in my makeup since time immemorial. Respect to those before me, yo.
Lwaki mu bisudde kali byali bituyamba bajjajja bali bagezi ngamba batuyigiriza empisa nyabo lwaki mu bisudde kali byali bituyamba nga bajjajja bali bagezi ngamba batuyigiriza empisa
Anti tuteredde entende tugamba jebala okuva ekyaddondo paka mu kyaggwe ne bugerere amasaza ndabya asatu ng'ate obusozi musanvu anti akabbiro mukuya ate mamba olw'omanya enzira nkuba jjejjerevu anti buganda nza kulembera okukuza ku nnono ng'ate oluganda lwenkulembeza sisimba lukono ku mmere esira namanja yuyanca olujjuliro gye lwadda tetumanyi naye ate tukkuta mpaako ku mazinyweko byali bya buganda abazungu be bajja kati ensiwa ate zituswaza biseera byali bya nnono tubuuza tufukamidde nga twalula abalongo saako n'okukyalira ensiko kusoma kwa bunensi n'oluzungu ne luwamba tubuuza watagwani gyebalembo by'abakadde ettofaali tukwebaza lisonze yeebale magulu nnyondo awangaale nange embeewo
lwaki mu bisudde kali byali bituyamba bajjajja bali bagezi ngamba batuyigiriza empisa nyabo lwaki mu bisudde kale byali bituyamba nga bajjajja bali bagezi ngamba batuyigiriza empisa
Yes, sir. This is how the culture was handed down. Around the fire, children gather round. Different rituals of different tribes. It's how the tradition was kept alive. Spiritual emphasis behind the drums. The old voices here that guide the young. So it's me and Nelly say trade them balls. We give respect to those that came before us.
kyaddondo bugerere mawokota busiro kyaggwe ffenna batugunjula dda ab'emmamba balangira nakinsiga enjovu katinvuma ab'effumbe n'omutima ffenna batugunjula dda ruyonga ku ngoma kugambye bamugunjula dda Isaiah kapiti kakabi kugambye bamugunjula dda
So ideally, this process of drying the potatoes would take about 3 to 5 days, depending on how hot the sun is. So once they've dried, they shrink in size and they become hard, and usually they are white in color, in that when you hold it, it can produce something that would look like a white powder or ash. So that's when you'd know that your potatoes are now well dried. So after they've dried, you can keep them in the granary, and then ideally the end product of this is what we call a mukeke, and it's a breakfast delicacy among the Itesot. Okay, so the Itesot ladies or women always cook at a fireplace with 3 stones, just like you can see here. And for the meal we're going to make, we're making atap, as I had told you earlier, which is our staple food, and we shall accompany this with ebo, which are greens, and I'll take you through that process as well. So what we have here is a saucepan with water that is already boiling for us to be able to prepare the atap. Then we have millet flour right here, and some cassava flour. So the atap is a mixture of both millet and cassava flour, but when you're making it, you ensure that the cassava is more than the millet. Then of course we have a mingling stick that we're going to use to be able to mingle the atap. So the water has already boiled, and now we're going to add in our flour. We'll start with the millet. Ideally, it's proper to ensure that the water has boiled well so that the millet actually gets ready. Then just give it some time to boil. So after that, we'll add in cassava flour. As I told you earlier, the cassava is more than the millet. And then we go on to mingle this.
But now we seem stuck. Treated me like the one, but now you acting up. No shot to money to the queen.
Started on course, but now we all in the rut. You been blowing me off, now you blowing me up.
Okay, so now we're going to prepare ebo. This is sauce, mainly composed of greens and ginger paste. Our ingredients, we have ebo here. We have 2 bundles of this. Then we have otigo, some people call it etigo. And then we have our ginger paste, locally known as odi. And then we have some rock salt right here. Of course, we won't use this whole portion. We'll just get a pinch to enable us to do what we want to do. So in the meantime, as I get to pluck the leaves, we'll have this saucepan that has water in it already. So we're going to put the water on fire to warm or to heat up, and then add a bit of the rock salt. It doesn't have to be much, just a pinch is enough. So this helps to quicken the process of the softening of the gravy. So be careful not to add too much of the rock salt, because when it's much, your greens or whatever sauce you prepare will become bitter. So in the meantime, as that boils, we'll pluck our greens, starting with the ebo. So ideally what you're doing is plucking off the leaves. You pluck the leaves off of the stalk. So you have to do this for all the bundles. When you're done with plucking the leaves of ebo, you can get the otigo as well. But it's very important to note that the ebo usually has to be a lot more than the otigo, or what some people call etigo. Okay, so the water has boiled and the rock salt we put in has already dissolved. So what we are going to do now is add in the ebo first before we put in the otigo. So we're going to let the ebo boil for about 10 to 15 minutes, but it's important for you to make sure you stay by your fireplace, because as it's boiling it forms sort of a milky substance like foam that keeps rising, so you have to monitor it as it boils.
This was our home, I was your gym. Don't know what point you let everyone in. You one way with me, but switch up on your friends. Josh SP on the track.
So at this point, we're going to add the second drink as well. After chopping them into smaller pieces, and then we leave them to continue boiling. So this has boiled, and we're now going to add our ginger test. We already added a bit of water to make it a bit liquid, so we can now add in the ginger sauce to the green. And then we've also added some salt to give it zest. So I'm going to stir just for a while so that the ginger starch will get mixed throughout. And after that we can let it boil shortly, and our sauce will be ready to serve.
Mwishiwe dinkuchenga noshato kumanye tori kwenga noshato kumanye tori kwenga